Well, hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Moonlighters Club. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show and to Paula.
Hi. Jake.
It's good to see you. It's how you been?
I've been good. I've been really good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Don't have kids. That's the first thing. I've never been more tired in my life. I'm so tired all the time, and it's wonderful. But I've never been more tired. But other than that,
Uh,
I'm good, man.
I was never like in the running to be like, let me have those things, but
Yeah.
but I support the cause.
Yeah.
I don't have those, but I have a dog, and she is just sickness after sickness. Not the same, People who have kids way harder, but I'm telling you, dogs
Yeah.
kind of up there, kind of up there.
Dogs are like a good way to. It is a good way to gauge because you're like, do you want like a smarter version of this? If not, then I don't think you want like who's sick all the time. Like there's so many things.
I know.
So
I'm
yeah, yeah.
so
I'll
funny.
never be that person who's like, you got to do this. You have to. Now I'm like, look, if you want it, it's beautiful pain. If you don't, run, live.
Not run, not Usain.
Yeah. Where do you what are you outskirts of Boston now? In Boston?
I am in Dorchester. I am back
Okay.
where I was
Oh, okay.
raised. I'm back. Go ahead.
How's your part of Dorchester? Is it gentrified like crazy?
I mean, okay, that's a funny question because I mean I see people who don't look like the original people who were here taking laps, and you all can take that however way you want to, but they do jogging. There are so many different types of people here now, so it's probably gentrified just a tiny bit, but in the best kind of way. Like there are more Black businesses and
Good.
more people of color who have businesses here, which I love. So yeah.
Yeah, we've been fortunate enough to do work with the Boston Ujima project. So we've been at Dorchester Food Co-op. There's been a few folks that we've seen doing big things. Comfort Kitchen and
Yeah,
Upham's
yeah, yeah.
Corner. Yeah. So you're right. Boston's interesting, man. It's like it gentrified backwards. So not backward. Usually it's the people of color who get pushed out first, but Boston was in reverse because all of
Yeah.
the Irish and Italian neighborhoods were closer to the center of the city. So I try
Yeah.
explaining it to folks. They're like, "There's Black people there." I'm like, "Yeah, like just report, like yeah, they're still here. We haven't pushed out yet."
I love that question though. It's like my favorite thing to do when I go to a different state and people go like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, from Boston." They're like, "There are your people there," and you're like, "Why are you whispering?" Yes, there are Black people here. It's
Yeah,
actually
they
a lot
don't
of
beat us.
no, no, they
uh,
don't.
so yeah, for folks who don't know, we've known each other for a while. Um, it's crazy, actually. It makes me sad because I'm old, but like literally like 8 years, like like
And
7 or 8 years.
yeah, yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
god. Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I just celebrated 5 years at my current company, and I'm like, going through and I'm like, oh, how long have I been working, out of college, whatever. And when I can say like I have a decade of experience, I'm like, it's both beautiful and also like, ugh, like how old am I?
yeah.
How old
It's
am I?
crazy. Paul, as I was informed, not just you, but a bunch of people we worked that previously. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna say the company name. It was Skyward. I'm still cool with a bunch of people that work there, so I'll say
Yeah,
it.
me too.
Like yeah, it
Yeah.
was good. When we were working there, you were one of many who went to Amherst.
Yeah.
Explain your time at UMass Amherst. Good school, great school. How'd you like it? What was it like there?
I feel like everybody wants me to say Zoom ass, right? Like
Yeah,
we partied all the time. Um, and there were parties, but I mean, honestly, like I have to take it back to when I was even in high school, like picking colleges. UMass Amherst was just not even on my radar at all. I was like, you couldn't pay me to go to school in Massachusetts at all. Like, and my counselor was like, you have to put two schools from like Massachusetts. So she made me put Holy Cross, and I was like, I'm definitely not going there. And then she was like, and then she was like, put another school, and I said, what's the furthest school from Boston? And she said UMass Amherst. I said, go ahead, put that up there. And she made me go visit. So my brother drove my mom, me, and my cousin all the way out to Amherst. It was the most rainy, dreary day ever. And everybody hated Amherst. Everybody in my family was like, ugh, school's so far. It's 2.5 hours out. I hate it. And I was like, I love it here. It's for 4 years. I just like loved it on campus. So I would say my experience was great.
You liked it? It's how big is that student body? Like ballpark 30K, something.
25,000
25.
undergrad,
Okay.
25,000 undergrad, 5,000 graduates. I mean, minus like the racism that was on campus, it was actually a pretty good time.
What what was that? Like, yeah, explain instances where someone would be like, "Oh, okay, that was crazy." Like, what can you remember anything?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I was a part of like 2 or 3 marches. So like to say like Martin Luther King marched and then to say Paula White-Jennings march, like that's a wild thing to say, but unfortunately
Yeah,
it's true. Like unfortunately we have to go through this still now in the 2020s, right?
yeah,
But I think there was like incidences where I had a close friend who had the N word like written on their door. We've had campus police like do things that were just like crazy to people of color on campus. So many things there. I mean, but like I also feel like that's like a lot of PWIs, unfortunately, right? Like
yeah.
so.
That's weird. It's also weird because you're like most of these kids have never seen anything like but each other in these small towns. So I always thought that was funny. Would you
Yeah.
study there?
I studied communication with a minor in sociology. And I say communication without the S because everybody says it with an S, and they are two different majors. Okay, two different, throwing it out there. Two different
Paula, you're one of
majors.
those smart people who don't let stuff go. Like you're like, the smart people who are intelligent who are like, oh, whatever, that kid said something stupid. I'll let it fly. Paula's like, you pronounced that wrong. I'm like, bruh, let me have this.
No,
Let me have communications.
I am, but I'm not. Kind of. Sometimes.
Okay.
Whatever. It helps me with my work. So
When you got out, did
when I got out,
in terms
sounds
of when you
crazy.
got out of UMass prison, uh, how did you feel about joining the workforce? Were you already had something lined up? Were you excited about it? Were you kind of like nervous, like or disillusioned? What was that like?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you could say I was that like nerdy kid who was like, I know what I'm going to do as soon as like I get out of school. I want to say it was a month before graduation. I had came back to Boston to do an interview, and I like 2 weeks after the interview, I had gotten the job. So I did end up having a job lined up right out of college, to go work at an ad agency in Boston.
Oh, okay. That I'd love to hear about that. I've heard nightmare stories because I was trying to get into that realm somehow, and I can't remember which one it was, but I know people who joined a couple. One that's in the financial district. Matter of fact, I won't say the name because I don't know how they get down. But
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
would see them go in the morning. We'd see each other going to work, and
Mhm.
then I would go be getting drunk on Broad Street like at night, and they'd just be leaving work, and I'm like, "What? You're like this every day. I always see you when I'm out here partying." And
Yeah.
they were just like, "This is the most insane life I've ever been in." How was that?
Yeah. So I won't say a lot, because I feel like if you go on my LinkedIn, you can see where I work. But yeah, it was hard. It was. I will say working in an ad agency is not for the weak, at all, and I don't just mean that from like a workload point of view. I just think just even the people, as well, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think that there's no way that any job you could ever prepare for that kind of job, right? Like you have to be prepared mentally to learn how to work up, right? Which I think a lot of jobs allow a little bit more breathing room for new people in the workforce.
Hmm.
But an ad agency is so fast, super quick. I was one of those people who was like on it every biweekly Tuesday or Wednesday, I forget the days, but it was like reporting, or like a Thursday, and we would stay till like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock sometimes, getting it right because I had to do it and then had to go to my manager and then had to go to another manager before it went to the manager. And I was working on spreadsheets, so and we had a beer cart, but I could never really participate in that. So
Yeah, yeah.
there it is.
Um, did it come? Did you do better than most in terms of handling all that?
No. I was the only black kid, I think. Like, it's like me and one other person. And I think I lasted there for like 8 months, 9 months. It was like my first job. And nobody tells you how to quit correctly.
Yeah.
I think I just sent an email and I was just like, I'm not coming back. They were like, keep coming to my office. I mean, like, I'm joking, but like, I'm kind of serious. But no, I mean, honestly, what got to me wasn't I had had this idea, this disillusioned idea of what working in an ad agency was going to be, right? And I think that they tell you this whenever you decide to work in marketing. There's so many different fields and departments in marketing. So whatever idea you have, right, you kind of have to do extra research. And nobody tells you that, right? Like I just knew I wanted to work in an ad agency. So I did.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do in an ad agency. And so when I landed in this job, it felt so operational, right? It felt like I was again in spreadsheets. I could do V lookups in my sleep. I could do pivot table. I've learned so much about Excel that I don't even think Excel could pay me enough money to teach. That's how much I learned about Excel. And at that point, I had been burnt out. And so yeah, I probably lasted around 8, 9 months. And like I said, I was the only person of color outside of one other person maybe that on
Yeah.
the direct team.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted a little bit more diversity. And, yeah,
It,
I went to a
what?
PWI, so
Yeah.
PWI,
Yeah.
and immediately dropped into what I was dropped into. So yeah,
Did that disillusion you from the marketing side at all? Like the advertising, because I know the company, what Skyward does. Were you like, nah, I can still do this. I just don't want to do this specific thing, or did you ever think of a pivot immediately when you were done at the agency?
yes and no. So I wasn't like so disillusioned in terms of like I wasn't so burnt out that I was like, I got to give up all of marketing. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to become a theater major now and go back to school, right? Like, and this is not
Yeah.
a shot to theater majors, but like, I didn't rethink my life. Um, but I will say, when I got approached by Skyward, aka Fajani, so if Fajani ever watches this, like, Fajani was the person who reached out to me on LinkedIn, and she was like, "Do you want to do content marketing?" And I was like, "Sure." What is content marketing? Because like never heard of it before. I think it was like still fairly new at that time.
Yeah.
So she explained it and everything, and I was like, never heard of it before, didn't know what to do. Advertising was a bust for me at that point in time. So I was like, marketing's a close second. Let me go do it. And I think probably like a year in, I was like, is this something I still want to do? I think I had like in my mind, I was like, this is a 2 year plan. I'm out in 2 years. Like, don't get used to me here. I'm not gonna be here long. In my head, I think I really thought that, but I think I stayed there for like what,
Okay.
3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, you stayed there for a while, so I remember, like, just working there and being there. I always enjoyed it. I feel like a lot. We built great relationships post that. So when it's time to leave that,
Hmm.
what about then? What about post Skyward? Were you like kind of like, because I remember just conversations we had about like daily tasks and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
did you have your eyes on something different at that point in terms of what you want to do?
No, I think I was still so young in my career.
Hmm.
When I left Skyward, I was probably like what 25, 26. So I knew I wanted to be in marketing, but I wasn't still yet at that point in my career where I wanted to take the reins on it.
Yeah.
And so once again, and I always say I'm very, very blessed. Some people like to say lucky. I feel like I'm very, very blessed. Um, and that's really all thanks to God. But like I didn't reach out to my current company. They reached out to me, similar to how Fajani reached out to me at Skyward. And I I had been working at Skyward on a webinar program for my client at the time. And so I had been doing that for like maybe 2 or 3 months. By the time that my current company reached out to me, they had reached out to me initially to lead their and manage their webinar program. And at first I was like, yeah, I just launched this. I don't know what I'm doing. But like I also was like, no, I am actually an expert in this. So I said, yeah, I took it. And I didn't really know what 5 years was going to look like at this company, but I'm really glad I took the leap because it dove me a lot more into marketing. And the funniest thing is, I think maybe at Skyward, I had in my brain was like, I want to go into brand. And I had no idea how to get into brand. And then fast forward, now I am in brand. Albeit, I think when I thought of brand, I thought of it from more the B2C. Um, but brand is brand. So, yeah.
So how did you get into? So yeah, let's talk about this because I never like did the entrepreneur idea ever. Was that something that you ever like? You know what I mean? Like at any point in time, like because I
No,
feel
let
like
me.
you're busy. You go you're always doing something, but like not in my business. Like you can't sit still. I feel like I always see you in some place like
No,
with dressed nice with a bunch of other people dressed nice. Y'all are like the IG royalty type folks. So you're always moving around. So I always expected you to I don't know, like just kind of have something or do something really well on the side.
So no, I think it's actually funny. I don't know if you remember this, but this was like back when we were at Skyward, and you had asked me and somebody else to like sit in or help out with a podcast episode for the Moonlighters Club. And I remember helping or just being there and being like, wow, that's really cool that like people actually like moonlight and do things outside of work and like have jobs and then also do entrepreneurial things. Couldn't be me. But I was like, I
That's
love
right.
that. I love that for y'all. But I think I had already been so like stuck in you knew I was staying late for work. Like I was working long hours anyways. And so my mind couldn't even fathom what a work life balance was because to your point, I'm always on the go, but that's because I love to work hard. Like it's
Hmm.
just what I like to do. And by then I was giving myself panic attacks and anxiety. I thought I was having a heart attack at the age of 25. That's how like much I was pushing myself. So fast forward now that I have a better idea of how to balance things and what I need to do in order to be effective. I would say that yeah, like I don't think I would ever turn back from doing the entrepreneurial like drive at all or the journey. It's been a lot, but it's been really, really fun. So what questions do you have
What?
on it?
Yeah, yeah. Curious. You said you were pushing yourself like crazy. Did that?
Yeah.
What changed that? Or do you still? Is it still like that?
It's still like that, but like manageable. I think when you're young, people tell you like you're in your 20s, you're supposed to have fun, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. And so you don't really actively understand what it means to be balanced and what are the things that you need. Like very quickly in your 20s, you end up like working 90 hours somehow, right? And then when you're in, and I've never done it, but like,
Yeah.
like
Right.
somehow you end up working 90 hours. And now in my 30s, I'm like, okay, like work gets shut off like 5:30, 6 o'clock. Like unless like I had to do something else, like during the day, and it took me away from work, work gets shut off at that time. I have to make time for my actual business. I went as far as getting a life coach because I was like, I know I'm a workaholic. Hi, my name's Paula. I'm a workaholic, right? So I need somebody who's going to basically be able to help check and balance me. I need somebody who's going to ask me, did you rest today? Did you take a break this week? Did you do the things that you needed to do? Okay, great. You did. You don't need to do the extra stuff, right? So I will say that, like, yes, I am still busy. Yes, I do split my time a lot, but now I'm doing things that I love to do instead of just doing the things that I have to do. And that's more fulfilling for me. And so it doesn't even feel like I'm giving up all of my time at all.
So, what's the name of your business?
The Method Creative Consultant, aka the MCC, you can see it in my little note.
Where'd the name come from?
Funny enough, I had a friend and I was helping him come up with his business name. And I gotta say, I think his business name is great because it was very creative on my part, but he would never give me my flowers, so I'll take it myself. And but I had asked him, I was like, okay, I helped you, help me. What is a name? And he always says to me, and I think a lot of people say this to me, you ask for an opinion and you already have one in your head. And I said, yeah, but isn't it so much more fun to do this process back and forth to see if you are right or not? And after we went back and forth on things, I just kept saying, well, there's a method to my madness. And I've always said it, like whenever I've done production work or whatever, right? Like people will always tell me, like, there's no point in doing that type of thing, or we shouldn't do it this way, we shouldn't do it that way. And I'll go, like, just trust it. There's a method to my madness. And so I was like, well, I want to go into creative consulting. Why not do the method
Mm,
creative consultant? So yeah,
nice. So,
there it
what is
is.
the Method Creative Consultant?
Oh yeah, it's my baby, pretty much. It outside of Cairo, don't tell Cairo. Um, but it is pretty much it's born out of my passion to want to help people. Basically, I felt like, and it kind of came up 2 years ago, but let's say I kicked it off last year. um, I was feeling like I needed to touch something creative, and it wasn't meaning that I wasn't touching creative work at my company, but I just wanted to do something for myself. I wanted to do something that I could say like I had a direct input on this, and it didn't come from somewhere above, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I not only got to touch something creative, but I got to utilize the skills that are my superpowers. And I like to say, like, digital production, honestly, being a digital producer at Skyward really helped me uncover what I was good at, which is creative and operations and really bridging the two together. And so with the Method Creative, I mean, really, I offer digital production services as my big, like, I don't know. It's like I'm gonna say my peanut butter and jelly, but like it is that. It's like that's what I'm good at, right? It's my sausage making. But anything from like content strategy to, again, like from webinars to podcasts to brand, to pretty much writing, to anything that you could probably think of from like a creative execution, especially when it comes to ops, project management, I'm your go-to.
Nice. So you named it, put the business together, business becomes real. How did
Yeah.
you start reaching out to folks? How did you start advertising Method Creative?
So you're actually catching me in a revamp, I think. Yeah, I would
All
call it a
right.
revamp.
Yeah.
So when I started, let's just say this. I didn't start the MCC. The MCC started me. Very, very much so. I came up with this idea 2 years ago, and I was like, I kept thinking of it as this 5 year, 10 years out thing. Like I kept saying, like, I want to end in consulting. Like that's what I want. I want to like be like 45 years old. Those 45-year-old like black women who are just like, and yeah, I like quit my job and now I'm like selling like yoga mats and
Yeah. Yeah.
and doing
Yeah.
like I want to
Knickknacks and
be
all that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like they're like super rich for no reason. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. So I was like, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. And so I kept thinking of MCC as like 10 years out. And so I hadn't started anything. And it was last year, it had to be like January or February. Somebody from Skyward actually reached out to me and was like, hey, I need to work on a project with you. Do you have any availability? And I was still working full time. And I was like, so hungry. I was like, how did you know? I was so hungry to work on something creative. I said, yes, please, please give me this. And so she did. And we worked on it for a month and a half. I got it over the finish line for them. And then she was like, do you want to work on another project? And I said, yes, but this time I think I'm going to launch my business because the next time I get anything delivered to me, I want it to have the Method Creative Consultant on it. And that's kind of like the birth of it in terms of like how I started it. And I'm losing your original question, so I want to make sure I answer it. So if you want to ask it again, let me know. Or unless I did answer it, then I'm gonna just give
Yeah.
you
You
myself.
got that person reached out, and you said you got the word out. When you got
Yeah,
the work, when you got that work offer, were you like, oh shit, like, or were you just super excited, like, oh, it's nothing, I got it.
I was super excited. I was like, okay, I knew how many hours a week I could work on it, and so I like scoped all of that out. I think the hardest part about it was standing up for myself and saying like, I was like, I can only give you 20 hours a month. It was like, it was like that's fine, right? But after that contract finished, I think a lot of my life coach and I we talked, and when I had first started it, I was like, I'm gonna do these email blasts, and I'm gonna be on like social media promoting this, and by like October, I had like from I kid you not from June to October I was creatively burnt out. I don't know why. I just couldn't come up with a creative idea at all. Mind you, my LLC came in June. No, I was burnt out. I was still working on the projects for my client, but I was just burnt out.
Yeah.
And by October, I had made a decision that because my creativeness came back, but by October of 2023, I decided that I'm going to revamp how I actually promote MCC, which is going to be via my own work. Um, and so that's why I decided to launch a video series, and that's why I'm still going to be launching other video series. And I want that to speak for itself, so that people know that like it's not just about me touching like your idea and helping you bring it over the finish line. Like I'm doing it too. Like my work speaks for itself.
When did the video series, did it already start?
Yeah,
Am I missing that? God damn it.
I dropped a 6 episode miniseries on Instagram. It's called the Method Creative Collective. So still following in the MCC. Yeah, and it was a minute 30, minute 40, depending on the episode, per episode. And I really wanted to focus on creatives, and I wanted to focus on creatives that I could actively go see. And so I filmed
Okay.
everything on my phone. So if you watch it, I filmed everything in cinematic mode on my phone on purpose because I wanted to give an intimate feeling. And I wanted to be able to tell people, like, okay, when you watch that video and you're like into the story and you don't even care how it was shot, you can do that too. Like, you don't need, I have a fancy camera, right? But I don't need a fancy camera to do the content. So if anybody's ever like,
Mm.
I can't do this and because I don't have this, or I gotta go buy this expensive camera, it's like, no, you don't. Like, if you have a 15, a 14, 15, you have a Samsung, you have any of these like newer age phones with these like with these things, like, you're good. You're good.
I love how you're honest about it, and you didn't just go, "Yeah, you can't do this. Give me $40,000." You're like, "No, no, no. I'll teach you how to do it." That's nice because it's true though. That's how a lot of folks get. You realize you get a lot of work, entrepreneurial work, and a lot of companies make a lot of money just off lack of knowledge. So they're like, "Oh yeah, this is 3 hours worth of work, man. It's $1 jillion." And companies are like, "Darn it," and you're like,
And I'm gonna still do
I
it. I'm
mean,
gonna still do that.
yeah, but like you're like, yo, once you learn, it's like really about the time you're putting in. You learn your tricks. You're like, nah, I'm gonna be real with people and be like, yo, my time
Yeah,
is still valuable, but I'm gonna show you how this stuff works. So
yeah,
like, you're not gonna want to do it, but you're gonna want to
yeah.
do it with me because I'm gonna talk through it. I'm gonna talk through you. You know what I mean, the whole entire
Well,
way. So,
that, and I've come to this realization too, that like, what I could tell you the sauce, but the way that you apply the sauce is going to be very different from the way that I apply it. So I could tell you all the ingredients in it, but that doesn't really mean anything, right? Because who I am is
mm,
very different from who you are. What you bring to the table is different from what I bring to the table. And so for me, I don't mind getting out here and telling you, like, yeah, you could shoot everything on your phone. I have a video workbook, like a video series workbook that I don't mind giving out to people to fill out and do yourself. I want you to do that. And I want you to know how much work it is. And I want you to come back to me and say, I did the same thing, but you know what? I need help doing this. Because you know why? We're two different people, right? And what I can help bring to the table is very, very different. And maybe what we bring to the table together can be magical. Or maybe you only needed that workbook, but either way, you're going to remember my name.
I'm remembering you saying life coach. How effective has that been? How much of a game
Yeah.
changer is a life coach?
Life coach, therapist, same thing. Get one.
Get one. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I feel you, man. I got a therapist for the first time. Been since January. It's very effective. But no, I've also had coaching, career coaching, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You want to push back on it, and you're like, nah, I don't need that. But it's super helpful to just tell someone stuff, and they're like, all right, I listened. Here we
Mhm.
go. It's super
Yeah.
good. So I'm glad that helped you.
Yeah, I when I decided to do it last year, and actually funny, I got the name life coach because somebody was like, "Yeah, I just got off a meeting with my life coach." And I was like, "Life coach? That sounds like real like cool." And then he was like, "No, it's just my therapist." And I was
Mm,
like, "I'm taking that." But no, I got my therapist last year because when I had started to do the extra projects, I was like, I didn't want to repeat of when I was 25, 26 years old, experiencing anxiety attacks. And so I said to myself, I'm not going to allow myself to get back into that space. And so again, I needed somebody who was going to help me balance and be honest about saying, hey, today you had a bad day. If you need to go and sit on the couch
mm.
and go watch anime to replenish yourself, go do that. If you need to go take a walk, go do that. If you need to go to Target because that's your safe place, go to Target and have that be your safe place. And don't let nobody tell you that you can't. So yeah, it's been awesome.
So you're working on Method Creative, current
Mhm,
company.
mhm.
How's that been? How have you been feeling? How is stress levels? How is Paula doing?
Good. Honestly, I don't know how I do it, so I'm gonna have to give that up to God. To be honest with you, I don't, because if I tell you my schedule right now, like, you'd be like, how? But it's so it because I'm doing. I promise. Like, and I'll tell you right now. Like, Mondays, it's gonna be. I work 5 days a week, right? So that could be anywhere of upwards of 50 hours, 55, 60 hours, right? Depending on the project, depending on the week, and my actual job. For MCC, for anything that's like my own personal brand, my own series, not working on a client. Mondays. It's called Method Mondays, and so I like take out a couple of hours after work, and I like focus on all things method. Tuesdays there's Bible study, so that night gone. So don't ask me to do nothing because I got Bible study. Wednesdays and Thursdays, I might have some time to like again work on things that might be MCC related, or if I did have a client at the time, I'd work on those. And so that's something I did with my last client. I would say Wednesdays I'll do intake and I'll send out emails. Friday we can have one-on-ones and we can talk about things. And so you'll always get something delivered on a Wednesday. Um,
Okay.
And then yeah, Fridays I volunteer in production at the church, and on Saturdays I volunteer with a different company, and it's awesome because I get to work with high schoolers. And then Sunday I go to church. So I am busy, but like it feels fulfilling. And I still get to see my friends. I still get to see my family. I still get to, I still get to travel. So
It's crazy when you say
yeah.
that because you're like, yeah, you're like, there were times where we were both just working and work was taking up all of that. Like there's like, and again, to each their own, but there are jobs where it's just like job. You're
Yeah. Yeah.
there and then you're at home crying.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that is it, bro. That is
Yeah.
it. Like I couldn't imagine 70 to 80 on a thing. It had to be split up between different like, but that's yeah, that's always scared me. Like I can't possibly do
It
one
does.
thing for 70 hours, but
But it's also like a choice, right? So I
yeah.
think that everything people will say things like, "Oh, but I got to make money." And it's like, "Okay, but do you have to make money that way? Like do you have to?" Maybe you probably don't, right? Like you probably don't need to make it that way. There are probably other things, right? A lot of people I think look up from life and go like, I hate what I do. And it's like because you didn't take the time to actually think through like what makes you happy and what makes you fulfilled. And so, when I decided, I didn't know when I came to my current job that like I was gonna have the opportunity and choice to choose work life balance, right? I didn't come from like work life balance.
Yeah.
And so having it, like 2 years in, and I think honestly the panorama definitely like helped us like really think through like, like working from home has helped me think through and prioritize my time more. But everything's a choice. Everything, even when you don't think you have a choice, you do have a choice in how you do things. So yeah.
All right, so it's 2024. So April, what you got this video series going? I remember seeing that by going through your page, but I'm gonna watch every video.
Mhm.
What are we trying to do for Method Creative? What would you like to see?
Yeah, so I took a pause. And right now for this year, I'm really focused on doing more of the consulting, but through tips and tricks. And so I am basically starting up my YouTube channel. I've never like let me tell you something, Joel. Like I think because like me that like I think a lot of people who know me think that I am this big not big personality, but this person who is just like I like to talk. And I do. You would not be wrong. But I never wanted to be in front of the camera. To be honest with you, when you asked me to do this, I was like grateful for it. But I have been stressing out all day about this to the point where I didn't even tell my friends about this until 28 minutes prior to this starting. I sent them all text messages and was like, hey, if you could join, you could join, but whatever, it doesn't matter if you do. Like, totally fine. Um, but oh my, yeah, I never wanted to be in front of the camera, but I feel like earlier this year I had, you know, I'm part of this like women's like life group, and they were like, set your intentions, but also do a prayer and ask God like, what's your purpose for the year? And I was like, all right, let me do it, and I did, and what I heard was teach and guide, and I knew it was from God because I was like, I don't want to do that. The thing that comes out of my mouth every year is, I am not your teacher. Go Google it. I promise you, I say that at least 5 times a year. So the fact that I even heard teach and guide, I was like, that's not even something I remotely want to do. And so I have forced myself to start a YouTube channel, and I've shot 3 videos. I'm in the process of editing them. I will release them
Nice.
and I'll keep shooting videos. That will be, right now the first episode is just about, me explaining who I am, but the next one is talking about imposter syndrome, and then also talking about how I got to where I'm at, and hopefully it can, inspire somebody. But a lot of that series is going to be focused on all my tips and tricks, like how to do a workbook series, how to do a podcast, right? How to set up webinars, how to do any of the things that would help your business grow. And so that's my one major project. And then the second project is I want to do an interview series, where I don't want to call it a podcast because I don't know. I don't know why I don't want to call it a podcast. I think because I really thought of it more like, what was that thing on like Seinfeld, when not Seinfeld, his name was Jerry Seinfeld, and it was on Netflix, and he like was interviewing people in the coffee shops and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, comedians cars. Was it comedians cars and coffee? Something like that? I
Yeah,
think
I
it
think
was.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to do something like that, except for I don't got his budget, so we gonna have to figure something out.
it'll
So
just be
I can't
coffee.
yeah, it's just
No
coffee.
car.
Um, no car, no comedians, just coffee. But I do want to do an interview series. I want to basically take the mini video series that I did on Instagram and blow it
Mhm.
up. And I want it to be, I wanted to talk about people who are creatives, people who are entrepreneurs, people who are small business owners, people who are walking in their faith, whatever it is. And so I'm going to hope to do that by summer.
Nice. All right, we'll be tuned in. We'll
Yeah.
share, and we'll get it all out there. Um, if there's any way the community of people could help you, if there's any area of opportunity where someone could come in and provide assistance, where would that be? If there's one thing, or a couple things where you're like, "No, this would be cool. I'm lacking here." What is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I like to think that I can do it all, and I can't. And I've learned that lesson. Okay, you don't have to tell me I know. Like you don't gotta do it all. I know. Okay, but the Type A personality in me is like I can't do it. So the one thing I've been trying to relearn is video editing, and I edited all of the videos for the miniseries, but those were already like 5 minutes, right? And you cut them down to
Yeah.
like the half. So me and videographers, we're like this, okay? So if you are a videographer, you want to help out, come talk to your girl, just come talk. Cause like I got a lot of big video ideas. It's something that like me and videographers get along very, very well. I would love that. And social media. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate social media.
It's the worst, but you're actually good at it. I'm terrible at it. It's the
No, no,
worst.
no. I'm good at stories. Okay.
Yeah, you
If
are.
you need if you need an Instagram, Facebook story, hit me up. I will do that for you. As soon as you start asking me to post on the timeline, no, you're ridiculously crazy. If you're thinking that I'm doing that, I'm not doing that. So I would say I actually met a girl. I met a girl. She's awesome, and she actually, if you go to the Instagram at the Method Creative and you watch those videos, every single piece of copy she created, and I kid you not, I met her at a conference, and I was like, she had like noticed me from like a viral video, the one viral video I have, and she noticed me. And she was like, "Are you the girl with the dog?" And I said, "Oh my gosh." And then I said, yes. And then she told me she does social media, and I said, I want to work with you. And we did, and we collabed. So I'm always up for social media projects and campaigns because it's not my bread and butter.
We definitely know videographers, so I can link you with a few. Um,
Yay.
um, yeah, we'll talk offline. The
Cool.
parameters and the
Yeah, yeah.
perimeters. I don't even know, but no, I know a bunch.
I don't know what prayer hammer mean. I'm scared.
Yeah, I just be throwing words out. But no, I hate social media. Like I don't know why LinkedIn is growing. I think literally the social media networks themselves know I'm old. So like LinkedIn's fine. IG's like whatever, bro.
Yeah,
So like we're growing things out on YouTube. However, at least since the past 3 weeks, just posting consistently and doing stuff. I
so
hate
tired.
getting stats. They're like, "Yo, you're growing," and I'm like, "This is the worst." I sound stupid. I look stupid. I type stupid. I just hate all of it. I'm like, I don't like any of this. It just seems so not authentic at all. It's just like, ah.
It does. I
But,
feel you on it.
but yeah, but yeah, no, this is Paul. This has been cool. We should check in more often. I've been telling that to other moonlighters that we should, if there's any way it could be helpful. I'm doing
Yeah,
more of these in general because I think people need to. I was like you. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm doing more showcases, interviews. I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I'm like, no, there's like hundreds of people who, like you, have expertise to share, and people want to hear it. So
yeah. No, this was
nice.
awesome. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got out of my comfort zone. I'm typically the moderator. So that's my comfort. That's as much as I would be in front of the camera, which is like I will do moderation. So this has been a growth moment for me as well. And so I'm appreciative of it. And yeah, this was really fun.
Cool. Oh, where can people find you?
Where can people find me? At the Method Creative. That's gonna be on Instagram and on YouTube. And don't worry about Twitter, but it's on there too. But you could also go to themethodcreative.com. That's my website if you want to learn more about my services. And then, yeah, just reach out. Oh, and at themethodcreative at gmail.com is my email if you want to just send a quick message and chat.
since I'd already done a different venture prior, I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy who's consistently asking people to support things. I'm going to try to just work hard. However, I feel like you're good. I feel like you and a lot of other people I talk to definitely bug all of us because we'll all love to support. I'll share everything you got. Definitely bug us, make videos. People think you're great, Paula. So it sucks, but people are gonna be like, "Oh, this is awesome." So you
Yeah.
definitely, we're excited to see it. We're pumped. I'm pumped for you. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. No, I love it. That's what I need to hear because imposter syndrome is real. And no
It
matter how much
is.
you think somebody's big personality is, it's impossible for them to have imposter syndrome, that is a lie. And it is very, very much a big monster. But we defeat monsters over here, so it's all good.
We do. We killed them.
Well,
Sorry.
murder.
Paula, this is cool. Thank you so much for doing this. We will. I have your tab pulled up here, so I'll make sure to share everything, and I'll be clipping the crap out of this and sharing this on LinkedIn. I'm just gonna let you know. I'll be tagging you on LinkedIn
Thank
over
you.
and over again. May lie
Please.
about your title.
It's the only content I share. So
Yeah, I'll be clipping it, and I'll make sure you have a copy too. For anyone listening, Moonlighters Club. If you're good at video production or social media, hit Paula up. Be on the eye. Look out for Method Creative. And until the next one, we will see you all later.